What is going on, Clippers fans? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 13 of Clips and Dip. We made it past the heat wave. Our brains were not functioning well enough to come together as a collective and talk about the Clippers. So thanks for rocking with us. I am Chuck Mockler, joined by Will Updike and Adam Osland. We got some fun stuff today. If you're listening, thanks for listening. If you're watching, thank you for watching. If you want the full experience, you can find us at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. We got a bunch of awesome fan questions to get to today. We're talking about how this is James Harden's most leadership-filled offseason. Then we're going to talk the pick and roll. But before we get into that, I think we have some dips to talk about as well, too. Before we get into that, I see we have all survived the heat wave. Will, how are you doing? And do you have anything you learned in the heat wave that you'd like to share? Could be about how to beat the heat, could be about yourself. I feel like I was on like a spiritual trek in 100-degree weather for a week in my brain.
Terrible. Things are terrible. A good tip to beat the heat is watch Michael Mann's Heat in a movie theater during the hottest part of the day, which Charles and I did, and it was one of the highlight of my weekend, I'd say.
Yeah, the Vista Theater I think it still might be showing it. It's showing Heat. We watched it from 3 to 6:30 on Saturday, and again, can't think of a better way to beat that damn sun.
Could stay at work a little bit later, which is what I did yesterday.
Sure.
Not on purpose, mind you, but it did get me out of the heat.
Adam, how are you? How's your brain? How did you deal with the heat wave?
I mean, it's probably a little fried. I had trouble. I got really thankful when I saw it was going to be 90 or whatever it was the last couple of days. And I think that's what I learned. I am glad that we don't live in a place where it's like this consistently year round. Sorry, Arizona. We're looking at you.
Shout out to our Arizona listeners and our buddy Pat who lives there. Yeah, I went to the Dodgers game on Monday, and it was, I think we got below 90 in the 8th inning, which I love the boys in blue, but that was maybe one of the referees. They also got their ass kicked.
Did you get like a frozen lemonade or 10 of them?
I drank 3 beers.
That's great for the heat.
Yeah, really good for the dehydration. And then I think I drank 12 gallons of water after I got home. All right, we got some fantastic Clippers questions we got to get into from our listeners. Thank you for sending these, as always. They're fantastic. We got a couple questions kind of about blowing the team up, which is interesting. I feel like we kind of dealt with
time.
Will's oscillating between blow it up, Dyke, and it's our year, which I respect.
It's not easy.
The thing is, you get the chip, and then you move on to the new era.
You're skipping the get the chip part?
No, I'm saying you get the chip, and then you move on to the new era.
You get the chip, and then you dip. You just get out.
There you go. We're only doing 1 year into it. So David Hellman asks, if the team disappoints in the first half of the season, do you expect the front office to blow it up at the deadline? I think it's maybe important to contextualize what blow it up means.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what is that?
Is it just trading Harden and Kawhi? Because in my head, that's the only way that blowing this team up would satisfy that definition.
Which I got to tell you, man, for a team that still doesn't control their own draft picks, I don't know how much you're not getting draft equity for those guys. Like you might get some, but not enough to like rebuild a team that's even close to where the Clippers are at right now, you know? So I don't know. Like, again, I think this is a retooling period. This is there isn't the assets, or like I said, a big thing is the control of your own pick to really incentivize any major change. I don't know. Where are you at with this, Adam?
I'm not saying under no circumstances would they trade Kawhi Leonard, but I was listening to a Clippers podcast earlier today, and it made me think about how he represents the first major big-time free agent that they got and turning them into a destination franchise.
Well, I'm not saying that it's not possible. I'm just saying, like, what are you getting? You're not that's you're not getting like blow it up ammo. You're not getting some dynamite.
I just think the likelihood of them trading Kawhi Leonard is extremely low. I know everything that happened with Blake Griffin, and we thought at that time there was no chance they'd trade him. But I think this is a little bit different because Kawhi, they drafted Blake. Kawhi chose to come here. I don't know if you can do that and then bring in other free agents and not have them think in the back of their mind immediately, oh, they're cutthroat. They could trade me at any time. I don't think they can do it with Kawhi, honestly. I'm not saying it's totally out of question because you never know. But to Will's point, what are you getting? Like the Godfather offer isn't coming for him anyways. So that
It's
makes
like-
it even easier for them to justify why you should keep him because he represents the first player that chose the Clippers. And they became a destination franchise because of him.
His
And I
contract.
do want to contextualize one thing with the Blake Griffin offer, like or with the Blake Griffin deal. I think Detroit was in a position where they wanted a star or they wanted a name more so than anyone else in the league, and I think they offered the Clippers a deal that there's no way in hell you say no to. But I don't think there was anyone bidding to anything close to what the Pistons were offering for Blake Griffin, considering, how nice the draft picks and everything would be. I don't think anyone was offering anything close. And I think if you're on the other end of the line from that deal, I think you're saying yes. Like, I think most teams would say yes.
They were opening up a new arena too at the time. Wasn't it Little Caesars just opening up then? So they had all the reasons to have to bring in somebody to be a draw.
The thing with Kawhi, like we're talking about like the Godfather offer, like you're like, so his contract does theoretically make him easier to move if they were to trade Kawhi Leonard because it's under the max or whatever. But what team is a Kawhi Leonard away that would give us a ton of pick? Like, because what's the haul, do you think? 1 first-round pick and like a young guy and like it's not.
And probably somebody on a bad contract. With those two things.
Or like pairing him with PJ Tucker to just have like this zombie roster where I think the other thing that people need to take into account is like, you can't just have a bare bones roster and be like, well, our young guys are going to get good. You have to have pieces to help those guys get good. Like there's not like the Clippers are middling out right now, which is better than bottoming out, especially if you're opening a new arena, but they're not the offer. They'd have to trade both of them. And I don't think there's a single Clippers fan who would be happy with whatever return they got. Realistic return. I don't think anyone would be like, well, that felt good. We got 2 picks for Harden and Kawhi, 2 bad contracts, and like a young guy who might be good. And maybe we have to get a new head coach because Tyler doesn't want to deal with this bullshit. Rightfully so.
What you just described with a team saying we can't just have young guys, we have to supplement some vets around them. I think that's what Houston believed last offseason.
Yeah.
Which is why they brought in Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet to find out more about those other guys if they're actually playing more competitive basketball, because now you have some solid vets around them. By the way, Houston is the one team that I think that some people have reported might have some interest in making a run at Kawhi Leonard. And you could talk me into it a little bit, but I still think it's extremely unlikely.
I think he says no, too. I don't think Kawhi wants to go to play in Houston.
He doesn't have a no trade clause, though.
Oh, that's right.
I think the only 2 guys that do are LeBron and Bradley Beal.
Man,
I'm not. There may be one other.
Shout out Bradley Beal's agent. Anxious Clip fan basically asked the same thing. They said if the team underperforms, would it be viable to trade Kawhi and Harden for assets? Knowing Ballmer and given the new arena, would it be worth the organization losing big names for a 2 to 3 season rebuild? Should we expect a T-Man and Zoo-led team? No, I don't think we should expect a T-Man and Zoo-led team. That's not what they're built for, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. They're not the star, you know what I mean? And I don't think Ballmer's also a businessman. He's not doing 3 years of bullshit at the nicest arena ever built. Because it would be some bullshit if they traded Kawhi and James Harden away from this team. If you don't like the roster now, imagine what the roster would look like without Kawhi and James Harden.
It would be one thing if they had a young centerpiece type of draft pick, like if they had done a trade for Scoot Henderson or something last season, and you bought him out that way while still having a couple of guys next to him that are fan favorites. But I don't see it either, given the new arena, that they can completely, and Ballmer has said, we're not ever going to completely bottom out. I tend to believe him. Like, it would take some real extraordinary circumstances for that to change.
Yeah. It's just not. And again, we're not, besides what Will ascribes to belief-wise, which that it is our year, I don't think it is our year. I think anything can happen.
Will, would you like to respond?
The only God I believe in is this year.
Is Larry O'Brien. But it's just not like, I don't know. The roster isn't juicy enough to be like, well, we'd really be cooking with gas in 3 years if these draft picks work out. Like, our best vet is Batum, who is not probably going to be in the NBA in 2 or 3 years. La Murray was posting some pro Zubats propaganda on Twitter today, which we're all fans of, obviously. Zoo has never had 2 20-point games in a row.
True.
I wanted to ask you, thank you for fact checking Law.
No, I just feel like people have brought up this stat before, and it's like,
yeah,
okay, like I'm not saying this is what Law was doing, but I know, like, I feel like a lot of people disparage Zoo with this 1 point, and it's kind of like, okay, like, sure.
The guy who was 5th option.
Like, within context, I just don't see how that's
it makes sense.
Like, it's
the
just
majority of the time he has a 20-point game, and they still start to forget about him by the time the next game comes around.
That's the first half.
How many times do you get the same minutes the next game that he got to get to 20?
How many 20-point games do you think he has next year?
How many did he have last year?
Let me check.
That's my prediction for this year.
That would be fucking great.
20-point games.
He had 40. Oh, not 44. 4. He had 4 games of 20 to 29 points. I'm taking the over. Yeah. I would just take the over next year. I think it's more than 4.
It's got to be double digits, or I think this team might be in some trouble.
Yeah, if Zoo.
So how many
games of 10 to 19?
How many games do we not have one of or both Kawhi and Harden? Because basically that's how many 20-point games Zoo needs to have.
Yeah, those graphs will be like, I like that idea.
Yeah,
so I'm with Adam. I could see 20. I mean, I think it's going to be hard.
I'm not with Adam.
I would love to see
20. I was kind of kidding. Just 20 for 20. I don't know. Maybe I'll say 12. I'll say 12.
Yeah, that's more reasonable.
12 would be great. Adam's poking holes in his own Clipper ship.
Guys, that guy 30 seconds ago.
I got the receipts.
Real dumbass 30 seconds ago right here.
If he gets over 20, we're going to play the clip of you saying that he's not going to get 20.
He'll never get 20.
Yeah, I think it'll be, I hope it's over 10.
But it comes down to what Will just said. I don't know. How many games are Kawhi and James Harden playing?
How many minutes?
Especially Kawhi, because James Harden can really aid in Zoo getting to 20. I think.
Yeah. I was gonna say because no Harden does limit things a little bit.
Yeah.
If Harden plays 70 games and Kawhi plays 50,
120 20-point games.
Yeah, plus playoffs, right? We're including the playoffs.
And they're going to win the in-season tournament.
Right. And I think they just might ask for extra games. Just, iron sharpens iron.
Can't be your year if you don't win the in-season tournament.
Bro, not wrong. Also, we should track Zoo's scoring when Kawhi's out this year. We should do that more. All right, now we got some random questions. Clips faux show. Who do you think will be the surprise performer of the season? William Updike. Who are you picking?
Surprise performer of the season. To fans or like above their numbers?
To casuals.
Yeah, let's go to casuals, actually. I think that's a good, like, Clippers fans who are maybe, like, not as invested because they're not some do not think they are a contending team. Who's
Yeah,
in the
but then
top
like
of those
Zubas could be the surprise performer to them.
teams? Sure.
Yeah.
Let's go non-starters. And we'll list the starters as Harden, Terrence Mann, which seems to be a controversial opinion some places, Derek Jones Jr., Kawhi Leonard, Ivica Zubats. Other than those guys.
I feel like you shouldn't be able to take Norm either.
Yeah, that's fair. I was gonna say Norm though.
I think Norm is fair if you put
Well, if you say 20 plus a game from Norm, I'm like, okay, that's surprise performance.
yeah, like
yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. I think
18 plus, whatever.
Yeah, who else is gonna really, really surprise me?
PJ Tucker.
Batum. We're gonna find out he has even more in the tank than we thought.
he's they're clocking the MPHs and he's the fastest guy on the team every game. Adam, who are you picking? Will's picking Nick Batum.
I'm going to take a risk here. I'm going to go with Mo Bamba.
I was going to pick one of the random centers too.
Yeah.
My guy's not random. He's a surprise performer.
Sure. Okay. And what does surprise from Mo Bamba look like?
I'm going to say he's getting 8 and 5 and a block.
The blocks would be nice. And this is under a normal percentage. This isn't anything where he's shooting like. So 8 and 5, that is his career average is 7 and 5.5.
Yeah, but look at my God. What's his
is,
averages the last 4 years or last 3 years?
Yeah, well, so last year 4 and 4, year before that 3 and 4, year before that 7 and 4.
All right, I'll up it a little bit. I'll say 9 and 5.
9 and 5 from Mo Bamba off the bench. Sign me the hell up.
And he shoots. Did I already make a prediction on him from 3? I feel like this happened. I think I said his career average 37%, right?
His career average is 36%, but the point
36 point what?
1.
Damn.
I would round up if it was 36.5.
All right, I'll say he shoots 37%.
Yeah, on like 1.5 attempts a game or something like that. Because he's he could be a pick and pop guy.
Yeah.
Pick and pop in relation to what Mo Bamba is.
Because a lot of people are down, very, very down on Mo Bamba right now, and I seem to be higher than most. So I'm gonna pick him as my guy.
What else is new, Spicoli? So we got Batum, Bamba.
What about Chris Dunn?
I feel like the freaks over at the Lob the Jam the Pod have been all over Chris Dunn for the last like 2 years. And I think they're right. I think he's going to surprise people with what he brings off. I think people kind of know he's good at defense. Yeah. Like he's a guy where you kind of go defensive first. I think his floater game's really good.
Yeah, but that like box score isn't jumping off the page.
No, it's got to be chunky for him to be a surprise performer. It's got to be.
It is kind of interesting though, and it will be something to monitor. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the backup center position, but like, what is going on with this guard rotation? I mean, because these pieces, they make sense in like certain regards. You know, I could see Norm and Chris Dunn together. I could see that sort of working. KPJ and Dunn, maybe. I don't know. It's just going to be an interesting thing to monitor as this has once again become an Olive Garden team.
Because even if you think that Bones Highland doesn't have a chance on this roster and won't be on the roster, even if you take him out, still a lot. You can't play.
I'm operating under the assumption that he will not be playing.
Norm, KPJ, and Chris Dunn on the floor at once, I don't think is going to be successful.
We're going to see it, though. Are we not going to see it?
And we're going to talk.
Are we not going to see it?
We saw John Wall, Luke Kennard, and Norm play
Describe.
together.
But then I felt like
play minutes.
T. Lou did at some point say it playing guards was ineffective. Like he did, it wasn't a mea culpa or anything, but he did admit that, you know, he was trying to get guys minutes. He was trying to make it work, but it couldn't work. I'm hoping that was a lesson learned about playing too many guards.
I hope that we have learned it. Because we do have a lot of guards, and we are going to talk about kind of some KPJ stuff the next segment, just in terms of how he fits with maybe the lack of shooting in the pick and roll. Ryan Snelling with a question I'm surprised it took him this long to ask. Cutest Clipper update with Paul George off the team.
Was Paul George the previous reigning cute Clipper?
I think for Ryan Snelling, he may have been.
I mean, I think I definitely did one year. I don't know if it was every year.
It was every year.
I didn't know there was a Cutest Clipper update period, so this is an update to me.
Yeah, Ryan Snelling always asks this. People want to know the answer to this. I guess
I'm going Kawhi all time, but I think he's adorable because of his personality and everything, and he's good looking.
Yeah.
I'll go Kai Jones.
Ooh, Kai Jones has some model looks. When you saw him on the red carpet, the Intuit Dome, Kai Jones is a good-looking guy.
Kai Jones is going to show up and maybe play in a game in those Oakley over-the-top sunglasses. I just get that vibe. You know the ones I'm talking about that go the old school Oakleys that they made for like sprinters? Yeah. I think Kai Jones is going to play in those at some point. Will, who is your pick? And Ryan Snelling tweeted us who your pick is, coward.
I'm going James Harden, and again, it's because of the whole package, like the outfits. I still think I might have a GQ James Harden spread from 6 years ago, probably. Yeah, it's Harden for me.
Good pick. And I also always think about the best joke from Abbott Elementary, which was Quinta Brunson dressing up as James Harden for Halloween.
He's just got an iconic look, and he is probably he's one of the few who actually pulls it off. There's a lot of kind of wild dressing in the NBA, which I support. I support all fashion exploration.
Risks, sure.
I support risk. I support taking big swings. I feel like he's one of the few. It's like him and Shea who are pretty really the hit rate is very high.
Mm-hmm. They have good stylists. Shout out to whoever's styling them.
I know it's not his nickname, but he looks more like a King James than LeBron with the regal beard.
He's shorter. He's a little stockier.
Yeah.
That's kingly.
It is.
You're saying LeBron is a fraud king?
False king. Just like Lakers fans spray painted when he came to town first. False king.
If you really want to trigger a fan of that team, just say, I mean, personally, I think he's the greatest Laker of all time. He brought him a chip during COVID. I've gotten a bottle thrown at my head saying that before. All right. There's one more question from someone named Muck Chockler, who asked, should the Clippers make a move for Robert Williams? Ryan Windhorst tweeted out, or I think he just said this on a show, a guy to watch who is very tradable is the Time Lord, one of the greatest nicknames in the NBA, blah, blah, blah. Coming off of injury, he's a guy who's had repeated injury problems, but he makes $13 million. They may be willing to part with him, and he could go to a contender and be a significant piece if he's healthy. All that last part to me says he's not going to a contender because I don't think they'd want to bank on him being healthy.
$13 million. Will you take PJ Tucker?
PJ Tucker
in combo
and some in and out. Let's do it. Yeah, we have, and now it's actually tradable. So it's we're team reclamation. Let's add another
I'm with it if he's happy. If he's happy in a bench role and. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great backup option. I think with the injury history right now and already having Ivica Zubac, a starting position is not in the cards.
I guess what you'd sell Portland on is PJ's out from under this contract after this year, and Robert Williams is still under contract for another $13 million next year, and that would be the only incentive I could see of doing the trade. But it's not a terrible one.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's better than a guy who
Well, I think I just wonder what the offers are, I suppose.
I wonder if Boston comes back at him because they're losing Al Horford, right?
Oh, are they?
Isn't he retiring? I thought he announced his retirement. Am I crazy?
I think he's done, though. No, I think you're right.
Rip Al.
Not dead.
Wait, Al Horford's sister debunks retirement rumors ahead of season? Could be wrong.
Adam always bringing fake news. he was on the spot.
I was on NBA Central instead of Central again.
Yeah, you're like, whoa, this is crazy.
Adam is an
Ballsack
uncle
Sports.
on Adam is an uncle on Facebook.
He's like, if we trade for Robert Williams, dude, he might eat some of our cats. I don't know what's going on, man. It's just bullshit. All right, thank you for the questions, especially from Muck Chakra. That was a really good question.
Is that you?
Yes, absolutely. Coming up.
I wasn't sure if someone was trolling you and took that name or if it was just you. Okay.
Nope, just me trolling myself.
I was worried maybe you had like a super stalker.
No,
or excited for you if it was that kind of situation.
I would not be hyped on that. If they were like, whoa, went to your work, didn't see you. I'd be like, whoa, let's keep it that way.
What if they were just giving you the gifts, cash gifts?
Wait, cash gifts?
Yeah.
If I walked into my house and there was just cash lying there with a note that said for you with a smiley face, and I texted the 6 people who I have access to getting into my house, and they all said that wasn't from me, I'd be like, okay.
What if it's like you wake up and there's a picture of yourself sleeping and you're like, oh my God. And then you look under your pillow, they left some cash in there too.
How much cash?
I don't know, $500.
Yeah, but they took 1,000.
Hey, I don't have $1,000 to take. 500 cash and 20s. Yeah, I'd be hyped. $100 bills. I'm like, what am I going to do with these?
I know you can't really break those at the liquor store anymore.
No, I'm going to go to the taco stand. Yeah, I don't know.
If anyone wants to watch me sleep, there's a price.
If anyone wants to watch me sleep, it's $500 cash in 20s. Coming up, we're going to be talking James Harden's leadership, a quality that everyone talks about how great it is with James Harden, but it seems to be on display even more so right now. But first, if you're listening on audio, thank you. There is going to be an ad break. One of the benefits of watching us on YouTube at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast is you just get to see our faces during this 1-second break and the whole time. So there's audio ads coming up, and then we're back talking James Harden in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back into Clips and Dip. We took your fabulous questions in this first segment. We're going to talk a little bit about James Harden now, and it's time to shake the stigma. I feel like I'm tired of the hearing the same thing over and over again. You know, he quits on franchises. He's a bad teammate, yada, yada. I've already defended him and this narrative on this show. I think the move out of Houston made a lot of sense. I think the move out of Brooklyn made even more sense. I think the move out of Philly was imminent and also kind of made some sense and also made quite a bit of sense. So you know where I'm at on this, but it seems like, whether he's conscious of this or not, James Harden is becoming one of the best leaders on this squad. Looking at this offseason so far, would you agree, Charles?
Yeah, so we've got him. He's been taking guys to the Rico Hines runs with like literally every young guy. Right now, they're all down at ASU doing like a James Harden minicamp. They're playing softball. Terrence Mann was on the losing team, which I'm not sure how that affects his standing in the starting lineup.
He's out.
Tyler's like, I
He's
saw
focused on basketball, not baseball. It's perfect.
That's true. The winners are now all bad.
Yeah. What have you guys been doing? Why are you so good at this sport that you don't get paid for?
You're working on your exit velo? I think this is like people have been clamoring during this 2-1-3 era for a leader, quote unquote, whatever they think that means. I think Kawhi Leonard is a leader in his very own special way, directly with coworkers who he works with. I think he's a leader. He's not a guy who's going to rah-rah in public, obviously. I think James Harden is the rah-rah, I think he's filling that gap that people wanted. The fact that it's just like every young guy in these things too. You know what I mean? It's not just like him, Terrence, Zoo, or something like that. It's all of the young guy. Mo Bamba's there.
And, this isn't new. Like, we've heard this since he started. He was, for guys who wanted to post-practice, they were working on the pick and roll. We know how, instrumental he was in, helping Zoo get acclimated, and they could work together. We know that some of the young guards worked with him before. And this was when he came here, he could have left after the season, when things didn't pan out. He could have left, when Paul George was gone. So, yeah, I think that this is – I like your conclusion, though, that people have been sort of clamoring for this voice for a while, and maybe this is the guy.
I like what you said earlier, Will. His last two moves are completely defensible. He wants to get away from an unreliable player in Kyrie Irving. He wants to get away from a guy who probably lied to him. I think everybody feels like, yeah, they probably did offer him that.
And
There's
a
no way.
coach who threw him under the bus.
Yeah, like there's no way he would have taken less for the team if there wasn't something else coming in the next contract and then it didn't appear for him. So some of it is a false narrative regarding James Harden and some of the heat that he takes. I like what I'm seeing at a 35-year-old James Harden, the way he's starting to lead now. It's just a maturity thing. And if you love where you work, I think that's very meaningful. I think that certainly brings out the best in people. He has wanted to be here in SoCal, I think, for a while now. He took a contract that was completely team friendly with the 1+1 on $70 million. Nobody thought that was going to happen. We all thought he'd be here for 3 more years. I'm good with it. I like everything we've seen from James Harden in a Clippers uniform so far, including this.
Yeah, the full offseason, which I know is something, Will, you bring up, like that's huge for him and the team. Actual offseason time. Thanks, Daryl Morey, for last year, making PJ Tucker go through the hardest transition of anybody.
He lied to him.
He lied to him, bro. But yeah, I love it.
Hope you get a terrible eye strain from looking at a bunch of numbers, you nerd.
Hope you get a bunch. Hope you get
looking at your spreadsheets. I hope you have to wear 2 pairs of readers.
I hope your iritis flares up. Yeah. Shout out to leader James Harden. And now I want to talk about. So we were talking about the pick and roll earlier, and the Clippers shooting currently as it stands makes the pick and roll a little.
I love that. Can we bring up an editorial note? I love that you bring this stuff in during the off season.
I have to.
No, this isn't a criticism. I'm saying I love it.
Okay, good.
I do
too. So
it gets me hyped. Gets me hyped for the season,
dude. I need real basketball so bad.
I know. We only have theoretical right now, so I love it. Lead us in. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're fine. I'm just losing it. I love my Dolphins, obviously, but I need Clippers basketball back. The Clippers were top 10 in points per possession in the pick and roll last season.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yes. Shout out James Harden. Shout out Zoo. They were ranked 20th in pick and roll frequency, which I think that goes up next year, would be my guess.
I wonder what they were at frequency-wise during the 31 game stretch where they went 26-5.
Oh,
I wonder. I'm sure there's a way to do that parameter wise on NBA.com.
Yeah, what were just find the dates and then look up the.
Yeah. I'm guessing it was
probably
higher.
Screen share through this.
Yeah, let's everyone.
If you're on video, you don't want to miss this content.
Dude, having to that's the worst. But so I think they're gonna go up in frequency, especially if Zoo's gonna hit 140 games of 20 points. But there's the starting 5, there's not like shooters that are exactly, don't sag off these guys or we're screwed, right? Because if you look at the starting 5, Harden is the best shooter, but he's running the pick and roll. There's Kawhi, there's Terrence, and then there's Derek Jones Jr., who's very much TBD on what his outside shooting is going to command, the don't step off him at all on the, off the 3-point line. So I think Zoo's decision making is going to have to be even more on point next season, because I don't think he's going to have open guys in the corners, because he can find them off the short roll sometimes. But I don't think it's going to be that sweet to start the year. They're going to make Terrence and Derek Jones prove that you have to stay on them in the pick and roll, I think. So we need James Harden to be at his absolute best, and we need those guys to kind of shoot better than they ever have.
I think Terrence Mann just needs to shoot, period. If he shoots, if he doesn't hesitate, if he stays with that level of confidence we saw in 2024 once the calendar flipped, I think he's going to be okay, because the numbers say he is a good 3-point shooter overall in his career. He just has to take them and have confidence in his shot.
Yeah.
Derek Jones Jr., I'm more concerned about him because he had a hot stretch during the playoffs, and that's not who he has been throughout his entire career. You can say
Right.
he's trending the right way at the right time, considering he's only 27, and maybe some of that stuff carries over from last year in the playoffs. But then again, he was really bad in the NBA Finals. So overall, he shot 37% in that playoff run, but then he was bad in the NBA Finals. I don't want that part to carry over. I don't know. I don't know who he is yet as a three-point shooter and who he can be. I feel like we have a better handle on Terrence Mann in that area.
And do you think Terrence is going to be the we can't sag off him, or do you think teams are going to make him prove that?
Oh, I think they're going to make him prove it because he ended up if you just look at 35%
Baseline,
last
right.
season, they're going to say, okay, that's below league average. They're probably not looking at the 44% he shot in 2024, and it's still on low volume overall. So I think they're going to make him prove it.
And that does also, if everyone's sticking, that means Zoo's at 1-on-1, which does bode pretty well for the points per possession stats.
Cash.
Well, and like at this stage of his career, how much and how often is Harden able to create for himself off the dribble? Because he's gonna have to, he's gonna be in a higher scoring. He's gonna need to be in sort of a higher scoring type of position than he has been for the last couple of seasons.
He did end up as one of the best point per possession guys in isolation last year. I think he was the best as a guard.
Clippers killed it in ISO. Like Kawhi was just obviously incredible in ISO too.
I want to say James Harden was near the very top in points per possession in isolation plays last season. I don't have the data to back it up currently, but I swear it's the case. Because I was kind of surprised by it because he is older now.
Source, I swear.
So it's 1.13 points per possession from him in the regular season in isolation plays. And I'm just trying to sort it by, these guys that have low volume amount and they end up really high because they did like two of them.
Right. Yeah, you got it for sure. And I'm also like, we don't really ever see Zoo with the bench. And it's like, I wonder what the bench pick and roll maybe looks like, because I feel like Zoo makes a pick and roll with Chris Dunn a lot easier than whoever the hell he's going to be running the pick and roll with. If it's not Zoo, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's some fun stuff. And I hope we see Kawhi as the screener, because that is something that I feel like is almost like my white whale. We've seen it a couple times and it's been pretty effective. It's just very rare we do see it. And again, I think that's where
you want to see Kawhi screening for Harden.
Yeah. And that again, that's like, you get the pick and pop and stuff like that. So they got to add some wrinkles if they want to, if it is our year, as some are saying. We might see some creativity on this pick and roll front, which I'm excited for. And we have the best guy to run it with the starters, which is James Harden.
So it looks like of guys who at least had 200 or more possessions in an isolation play, James Harden's at 1.13, as I mentioned. That's better than Luka Doncic. The one guy I'm finding that's better than him was Kawhi Leonard at 1.20. I think they both did finish like top 3 in this category last season, which is why when people complain about them going into ISO so much, like, well, the numbers kind of say they're really damn good at it, so maybe they should do it. There's something to that.
Yes. A guy we haven't talked a bunch about for, I think, pretty fair reasons, both on the court and off the court, is we mentioned smaller lineups. KPJ, Kevin Porter Jr., is a guy who can shoot. He's been at the Rico Hines runs. I'm not sure if he's at ASU. Tomer was saying that guys might be coming in, so like maybe he ends up with the team. But he's been like with the team. You know what I mean? Most of his time has been at the 1. He had one season where he played 60% of his time at the 2. I think it was his second year in the league. Every year other than that, he's like over 93% of his time playing at the 1. If he gets time, again, he has not played in the NBA in some time. Some people need to maybe temper their expectations on that.
Well, it's also just, I mean, this is the role, even if you foresee him really taking off here, the role is markedly different from what
the Rockets.
From what he's played before, like what his role looked like before. Do you agree, Adam? Like even if you're the highest on KPJ, even if you think that he's going to take Terrence Mann's spot, even in that highest of high scenarios, right? That's a completely different role still than what he was doing on the Rockets.
Yeah, he's not getting 34 minutes per night. I don't see any scenario where that happens. And I would argue, based upon his play, he is a good passer. Of the backups, he should be playing the one. Whether he's playing next to Chris Dunn or Norman Powell, both those guys should be playing the two next to KPJ. Honestly, they should be playing off of him. While he does ISO overly and gets into, a little bit of his bag, maybe too often sometimes, it gets him into trouble, as a lot of young players do early on in their career, especially when you're on a bad team. Like, he averaged, 6 assists per game. Like, he's a really good passer.
And Dunn played 30% of his time last year at the two. So like that's a small ass backcourt.
But Dunn can guard up. Like, I'm not concerned about him playing the two, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. It'll be interesting because he's, again, Norm can't really run the pick and roll, but just something to monitor.
I don't want the ball in Norm's hands making the decision.
Right.
I don't want the ball in Dunn's hands over KPJ making the decisions. I think of those three guys, he should definitely be the one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. His preseason is going to have to be real good.
He's on a 2-year deal, though, they're committed to him somewhat.
Is it fully guaranteed? Or is the second year something goofy?
That's a good question.
I'm looking it up right now. It's a player option next year for $2.5 million.
So a prove-it deal for him.
I would say the proviest of prove-it deals. I haven't seen a 2-year, less than $5 million contract in a very long time in the NBA. No disrespect to guys getting that, but that is the proviest of prove-it deals. I think we can all agree.
As it should be.
Oh, that's the other part, is like, the man has not played NBA basketball in a very long time in the scheme of these things. So, like, he's not just hopping in and running a great pick and roll.
And what happens if what a lot of people think is the likely scenario, I talked with Law Murray about this recently, that he gets suspended to start the season for 30 games or something.
Right.
Then you're trying to implement him while the season's happening, and his job, somebody else may have already proven it at that point that they have earned those minutes. Like, it's going to be a really difficult thing for anyone that thinks this is okay. Here we go. We got a 15-point scorer off the bench every night, Kevin Porter Jr. There's so much more that's going into this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to get chip muted. I was eating a bunch of chips. I didn't want to get chip muted.
I don't know. I think it's just it's gonna depend on, assuming that he is cleared to play. It's gonna depend on him because, I don't know. His assist numbers are fine. He's still like a worse than 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. He's not like a super gifted passer.
That's fair. I mean, I guess.
And is he going to be out of a score first mode? This is once again a guy who was not in the league and is on a very cheap deal, a prove it deal, which that can go a lot of ways, I think, in a player's mind. And I think only one of them would actually be beneficial to the Clippers.
There's far more realistic paths of him not being a big time impactful player for the Clippers season or this year than there are of him turning into a 6 man of the year type. There just are. You talk about somebody who's been out of the game for this long, and then he could be out even longer while the season is starting, and guys are, finding their place in the rotation without him. That's a lot to ask.
It's a tall ask. And again, I'm sure there's going to be some YouTube comments saying we're hating on Kevin Porter Jr. I haven't even become close to say what I actually think about Kevin Porter Jr. We're just talking basketball. But
just talking ball.
Everything we're saying is completely true. You can't just come in and play. It's not – I'll tell you what's ruining this game is AAU. It's people thinking you can just hop on a team and put up 20 points. It's not how it works. But it'll be interesting. Anything else on the pick and roll that you guys want to interject? I know people love clips and dip PNR talk.
Spam it.
Harden screens for Kawhi.
Dude, I feel like defense would be like, what the fuck is this? There's a small guard guarding James?
DHO, Harden screens for Kawhi.
I like it.
That'd be a good time. I want Zoo to hit that little law. I was talking about that clip Law posted. Zoo hits a nice little in his first 20-point game, he was hitting these like top of the key jumpers, which I want Zoo to unleash.
We don't need that.
Yeah, we do.
Zoo is already just enough in his bag. Can we just let him do the things that he's good at more?
Top of the key jumpers.
How do we know what he's good at if he doesn't get a chance?
Oh, for God's sakes. I hate you both.
He could probably hit every shot from half court, but he doesn't get the chance.
I want Zoo chucking next year.
Oh yeah. If the shot clock is under 2, find Zoo. I'm making shirts that say that. I don't care where he is on the court. There's a rumor that now we're talking about close and dips. For those of you just tuning into the most important part, there's a rumor that the City Edition is going to be pink and blue. I've been seeing rumbling about this, which if you remember what the City Edition court looks like, which I will screen share since Adam refused to screen share earlier.
He hates the color.
I want people to take my word.
It has some pink and blue thanks to the Jonas Wood design here. I could see this being a pretty sick-ass jersey with this shade, these shades of blue and green. I don't necessarily think it connects.
It's going to be brown on the jersey because I see a lot of brown on the card.
The jersey's going to...
That's the wood.
It's going to act as camouflage.
Oh, the hardwood. My bad.
It's going to act as camouflage. So the Clippers are going to be wearing jerseys that look exactly like this. No, but I'm excited to see these. I cannot wait to see the City Editions. I'm sure we'll see some leaks from NBA. I guess NBA Brazil doesn't exist anymore, but there's always like random leaks. So I'm excited. I feel like they're going to be sweet.
Now,
and this court rules.
There's a blue jersey. There's a white jersey. There's a red jersey.
Yes.
This is the City Edition. We're saying that could be the pink one. What's the red one then? Association?
Statement? Is it the statement?
That sounds right. Sounds right.
Dude,
it is a statement.
Oh, no.
To go back to red after all this time.
Sure.
Truly.
And I'll tell you what, back in my day, teams had 2 jerseys.
Chuck?
Home and away.
Yeah. It was a different time.
Yeah, 1923 was a vastly different time.
Go outside and find a cloud.
I will, dude. And you know what? Back in my day, there's only 2 kinds of clouds.
Do we really want to get into
these clouds are soft?
Discussion on the completely unchecked and unbridled rise of capitalism in the time since we were children to now?
Yeah, that's we're doing clips in capitalism after this. That's our other show. Gold chips in capitalism. All right. Speaking of chips. Does anyone have a dip? The viewers have gotten to watch me eat a whole mess of chips and dip. Did you guys?
I got a dip for your ass. Let me go grab it.
Aggressive dips.
Wow. Adam, you do not have one.
Guys, I'm not even doing this just because I'm being lazy. I really have to crack down on what I'm eating right now if I'm going to make it to 10%.
Hey,
it is time to lock things down.
you gotta lock the fuck in, bro.
Seriously, I've only eaten 550 calories so far today, and I'm trying to definitely stay under 800 today.
That's crazy.
I got a little bit of fruit and a little bit of yogurt I can eat later, and that's all I get.
Yogurt counts.
Greek yogurt.
550 calories, bro. It is 7.
But I am on a lot of 0-calorie caffeine that's keeping me going, baby.
What's your body fat at? What was the last Bechtel scan?
I mean, I haven't done one since the first. I'm guessing I'm around 14% body fat currently.
Okay. That's fantastic.
I'm making progress.
Adam revealed that he's eaten 550 calories today.
Why are you doing this?
Because I was inspired by you and your keto.
I know, but I'm not like limiting my my calories to that sort of level. That's
Will, what dip do you got?
I got a flavorful Southwest style salsa.
Okay.
Ooh. It actually right before we hopped on here, I threw it on a couple of keto tortillas with some arugula and pounded it down, which is a crazy person meal that you eat standing.
How many calories is that?
Too busy at work.
Adam's salivating. He's like, tell us more about how it tasted and maybe the smell of it.
Southwest.
So I went with a classic. Last time we were together, I went to Erewhon. I dropped $15. There's a Twitter guy who reached out. He was like, "You should have got your lavash from an Armenian bakery." And I was like, full disclosure, I went to Erewhon as a bit. Trust me, I don't have the money. Again, I'm taking $500 if you sneak into my house and watch me sleep.
Why don't you support local Armenian?
I do support a lot of local Armenian businesses.
Do you?
Yeah.
Seems like you're a little busy with your Erewhon.
With my Erewhon. I just go there and park. I just go to hang, you know? So I went the other way. I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it safe. Tostitos, just salsa con queso. Nothing crazy. Eating them with OEM chips, original equipment manufactured chips. These are also Tostitos chips. That's a term for if you used to work for a vaporizer company and people were obsessed with parts, OEM. But it's good.
That's a lot of industries.
I think it's only the vape industry.
I like that you thought it was that.
I never heard it. It was my first office job.
Oh, it's usually automotive stuff.
And I would bring this to the barbecue. I've brought this to many a barbecue. So, Will, would you bring yours to a barbecue?
You know what? There's fucking chunks of corn in it, which, again, being keto, I really hate. So, no, I would not.
That's fair. That's fair. Adam, would you?
I'd have to like strain those out.
I literally brought that dip, the one you're eating, to the last barbecue we had. No, I didn't the same one. But yeah, I love that dip.
Yeah, great tip. All right.
One of the surprise hits for me of this entire segment that we've been is I think it's just the toast. I think it's still the Tostitos brand, but it's the Poblano Blanco version of the quesadilla. It is incredible. Not that the regular one isn't good, but this is like, whew, real good.
Good shit.
Real nice.
I think that about wraps it up. We're going to be back next week for y'all. There's only around 40 days until the regular season starts.
That's why I got to cut calories.
Adam's fucking impressed.
Is that why you're doing this?
I said I'm getting to 10% before the season starts. There's only 40 days.
I don't think but
do you have a goal for the preseason? Because the first preseason game is October 5th.
Yeah, eat. Especially. No, October 23rd is the cutoff. I'm going to get a DEXA scan like the day before.
Okay, cool. Can't wait for real basketball. If you're watching, again, thank you. Will, if people wanted to leave some kind of review, where could they possibly do that?
You can review this podcast as many times as you want over on youtube.com. That's at Clippers Podcast. Just go ahead, leave us a comment. Charles will respond with something really, really nice. Adam won't remember anything mean or bad that you say about any Clippers player. So go ahead, just go wild in those comments. If you happen to listen to this show instead of watching it, you can leave a rating or review over on Spotify or at Apple Podcasts. But you know, if you don't listen on either one of those, that's fine. You can listen to the show wherever you get your podcasts. If we're not somewhere that you like to listen, I guess let us know about it. We'll see. We'll look into it. But however you consume this show, you know we appreciate you. Thank you for rocking with us through the off season. It's felt like a long time without basketball, but it's gone by quickly. I feel like, with good friends, great content.
I partially agree, but last week, because of the heat, I was in a slog. Adam, your one positive thing for Clippers fans to send them for the rest of their week, riding high on.
Wouldn't be so hot if you didn't have that hot ass gold chain like your Mookie Betts.
Hey, what do you want me to do?
I love it. Bringing that heat.
I will say it conducts heat a little too well. It burned my neck walking to Target last week.
My positive thing?
Yeah.
I think the pick and roll point in talking about that was a good one today, Chuck. And I'm starting to think, and somebody could put this in the comment section, what is the worst offense that James Harden has been in, offensive rating wise, since he became, a number one, number two option? So over the last 10 or so years, because I'm guessing every one of those offenses was probably top 10. That speaks to just his greatness and what it means to have a system. He is a system.
Yeah.
And it's true. And more pick and roll, the better. I didn't think they were, and the stats bore it out. I did not think they spammed it enough last season. It bothered me. Felt like there was always an easier way. Guys, run high pick and roll with one of the best pick and roll players in the history of basketball. Nobody's figured out a way to stop it. Even when they had like Ricky Rubio guarding behind him and all the stuff
Oh
they try to
yeah,
do
what
to
a
stop
great
James
clip
Harden.
that is.
Yeah, I mean, come on. You got James Harden. So maybe I'm being too conservative when I say the Clippers just need to be a top 13 offense this season. Maybe there's evidence they can still be a top 10 offense just by having James Harden.
We'll see. They just got to spam it. I respect it. Spam the easiest option. We thank you everyone for hanging out. We'll be back next week. And as always, let's go Clip.